Welcome back to Hungary. We're just outside the capital city of Budapest here at the iconic Hungaroring. Some amazing corners here. We have a track that is obviously on the F1 calendar, and that is where these young drivers want to make their way to. We have some of the best young drivers in European and world racing competing in GB3, and we have live commentary and coverage of round 11 coming up here from the Hungaroring in Hungary. I'm Jon Jackson with Piers Pryor alongside me, and Piers, slightly colder today, 23 degrees, and we can just see actually some of the drivers just going through the last bits of preparation. We've got the 3 Elite Motorsports racing drivers here, so we've got Jared Wilburski, Hugo Schwartz, and also Mackenzie Creswell. We can see him working on stretching here with his strength and conditioning coach there, and it's all about getting yourself, your body ready to be in these cars, and also getting your reflexes ready, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's basically preparing your body and mind to go racing. They've been out there for about 10 or 15 minutes before we were going live, getting themselves ready, so they'll be warm and ready to go. You mentioned slightly different conditions to yesterday afternoon. Of course, we were racing local time about 6:15 yesterday. It's only 10 past 10 at the moment. The wind has picked up, a bit cooler, not so much sunshine today, so potentially the tyres will be behaving slightly differently.
Yeah, absolutely, and we can see Jared Wilburski having some serious shoulder stretching going on there, and I think to get into these cars you need to be as agile and as as ready as possible, and you'll know this as a driver yourself. We had some excellent racing yesterday. I mentioned that it's slightly cooler today. We've also got quite a lot of a breeze, and we had a bit of rain overnight again. We talked about it yesterday. How will that affect preparations today? I guess they will have known this was going to happen.
Yeah, they'll be keeping an eye overnight on the track conditions. The teams will be taking the surface temperature of the tarmac to know how that affects how the tyres are going to warm up, the tyre pressures they will choose as well, because the teams will increase the tyre pressures if it's potentially a bit cooler, or lower them if it's hotter. So it's all the work that goes behind the scenes that maybe you don't see at home that the teams work on. And the drivers will also be thinking about the circuit as well. There's been rain overnight, potentially the bit of rubbish will have been washed onto the racing line, potentially a little bit less grip to start with.
Okay, well, we had another excellent race to start the weekend yesterday, and once again with round 10 of the GB3 Championship, Hi-Tech dominated.
Highlights from round 10 of the GB3 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, with Gerard Schee starting from pole position and leading down into the first corner on the 570-metre run down into the braking zone for turn 1. John Bennett was trying to find a way past as well, trying to sneak his way into the mix, whilst Timothy Kuharczyk was trying to go around the outside of his teammate. Will McIntyre sending one down the inside of James Headley into the first corner. They'd all work their way through nicely and cleanly, with Gerard Schee hanging on to the race lead and Timothy Kuharczyk trying to fend off John Bennett on the race down the hill towards turn 2. Bennett to the outside in the number 11 car, a couple of lockups in the background, but nothing too major as it all find and filter their way through without any major drama. Gerard Schee was leading and was dominating, but he was being closed down on by his teammate, Timothy Kuharczyk, who was just trying to find any pace up to the rear end of him. Flynn Jackson, he took out his teammate Javier Segura onto the brakes down into turn 12 with that lockup of the front right, however was able to rejoin the racetrack without any major dramas. Timothy Kuharczyk had to settle for second position because Gerard Schee was victorious for the second time in GB3 as he climbed atop his car as the winner here in the Hungaroring.
Well, there we go. A race yesterday that, you said it in commentary, broke some more records there, and we won't go into it because, I'm sure we'll talk about it a little bit later on. And with Gerard Schee on pole position again, with Timothy Kuharczyk right behind him again, your money would be on another Hi-Tech Pulsate victory today.
Yeah, it would make sense. I think it's fairly likely the pace that they had at the front of the field yesterday. Both Timothy and Gerard Schee, who won the race eventually, pulled 2.5-3 seconds over John Bennett, who was third. And John said in the post-race interview just then, if you'd watched yesterday, he said just quite out of the pace today of the Hi-Tech guys, and the Hi-Tech team look amazing abroad. So yeah, I think it's a record for the modern era of GB3, since we had carbon types to go 7, potentially even 8, maybe, who knows, 9 races in a row.
Do you see John Bennett in the JHR car as being the biggest challenger to both of those Hi-Tech Pulsate cars to start with?
If he gets a good start, we know as much as the Hi-Tech cars are quicker on circuit and clean air, if John can get in amongst it, maybe get a good start and jump them off the line, which will be difficult because the drivers are all so good at getting off the line these days, that he might be able to hold track position and just defend until the end of the race. The first lap is certainly where the most opportunity is in this race.
Excellent stuff. Well, we have another driver who actually did very well yesterday, James Headley. We've seen him for loads of different teams. He's back now this weekend driving for Rodin, and I caught up with him earlier in the weekend. James Headley, back with another team in GB3. How many teams is this now?
Probably about 500. No, too many to count, to be honest. I think the whole paddock just loves me, so can't blame them.
Wow, confident stuff. I like this. So you're here with Rodin this weekend. With Ugo Ugachuk, we're racing elsewhere. You've had a bit of time in this car so far here at the Hungaroring. What have you made of it so far?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's tough, obviously, going back from Monaco and then learning a different philosophy. But yeah, we're getting on top of it. I made some small steps, but this last session I really need to kick myself up the arse and get back up there. But no, it's always been good. Like, we've always been, pushing towards the front. So we're close. We just need to get it all together now. But yeah.
When it comes to them needing a driver and you needing a drive, they can't do much better than someone that came sixth in the championship last year, who has driven for multiple teams, as we've said there. When it comes to joining a new team, what are the kind of concerns from a driver's point of view? Because as much as these cars are all largely similar, obviously working with different teams is hugely different.
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing is just learning the structure and the way teams work, because I've had that recently, especially when you go into a new team just for the weekend. You know what I mean? Just for the weekend, it's really tough because, yeah, as I said, you don't know how it works. So yesterday I had some miscommunication. When I was in Monaco, I had a miscommunication because if you haven't done a test day or something before with a team, you don't know how they work. You're learning everything in a short period of time. So that's why it just becomes even more tough. Even if you could just do like a sim day or something and just make sure you understand. But yeah, apart from that, driving's obviously, it's just words, isn't it? It's all just words, but yeah.
You mentioned Monaco a couple of times now with the FIA F3 opportunity you got. How did that come about and how much notice did you actually get?
Oh, that was worse than this. These are both late notices, but that was stupid. I reckon 2 hours later, and I wouldn't have been able to do it. So much paperwork. Luckily, my parents sorted most of that out for me, but yeah, so much paperwork, so much to learn, so many rules. I had to have like a 6-hour briefing. Obviously not that 6 hour, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just a long, there's so much to go through in such a short period of time. The team was saying, 4 test days worth of stuff. I had to know it before a 20-minute session. So yeah, it was super tough, but a really cool experience.
I was going to say, what an incredible place to make your debut in that championship. What was it like actually driving around Monaco? Because most of us have only done it on computer games.
Yeah, it was so surreal. And I didn't know what to expect. So obviously never driven a street track before. But to be honest, I got straight into it quite quickly. The walls didn't really bother me too much. Like, you think maybe you have to adapt your style or whatever, but no, you just get on with it. And I just always low speed. You're never really worried about it, only if the rear comes around. But yeah, such a surreal experience. I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity. But yeah, now back here in a light, nimble car.
Well, it'd be good to see you hopefully get back up to there and race in that championship another time. We've obviously seen Luke Browning, Callum Boyce, Joseph Localic's done all the names, racing FIA F3 and do incredibly well as well. When it comes to this weekend, then what are your targets?
I think there's always naturally a bit of pressure, as you said. Like, I'm experienced in this car. The team have only wanted me in here to push Louis and get a good result. So that's what we need to do. I try and want to take the pressure off, but also put it on different angles. But yeah, we'll see. Obviously, I can only do the best job I can. But you should think that should be a good job, for the podium at least. So we'll see. Yeah, Louis being fast. So yeah, there's no excuses. It's just everything on the line, and who knows? You know what I mean? But hopefully we can pull it out of the bag.
James Headley way. Finally, we've seen in this broadcast the new car for next year, the 2025 GB3 car with DRS. What do you make of it?
It's so cool. Honestly, it looks like an F2 car. I'd love to drive it, even if I don't do it next year. But I just can't wait for an F4 driver to jump in it as the step. It will just blow their head off. So I think that'll be funny to watch. But yeah, it'll be a cool car.
A lot of people jump in F3 like Kimi Antonelli did. Finally, I've got to ask you, how's the cake? How's the cake baking this weekend?
I don't know, things. It's all secret, You don't know where I'm going next, so it's secret cake, but it seems to be all right. It seems to be a good cake, so let's just put it together for this last session and get all our secret ingredients tonight for quality tomorrow.
All right, the secret baker James Headley. Congratulations for getting back in this car and show us what you can do this weekend.
Cheers, Jonas. Thank you.
And we could just see in the background here in the Rodin Motorsport awning, James Headley leaving it till the last minute to get his race suit on. Always looking pretty sharp there, but yeah, James Headley, interesting to hear from him. You know, he's certainly driven for a lot of different GB3 teams, and it's good to see him back on the grid this weekend. Another new team, and it must be hard, as we sort of discussed there, to walk into a new team and to get to know everyone, even if you are familiar with the car, Piers.
Yeah, of course, all of the GB3 teams have the same car, but they set the cars up slightly differently depending on how they like, or how their interpretation of how to get the lap time out of the car. So some teams potentially run slightly more downforce, slightly less downforce as a base. They'll have slightly different mechanical setups to do with the springs, the roll bars, the ride heights and geometries, that all within some parameters that are defined by the regulations. And I spoke to James on Friday, actually, it was Saturday morning, and he said it's interesting that he's driven enough GB3 cars around the team over his 2.5 years, I think, in the series now, that he finds it pretty easy to jump into different teams' cars and get to the pace pretty quickly. But he does notice, actually, that they feel slightly different, different philosophies in how the cars should get the lap time. He mentioned, actually, kind of Elite Motorsport, the way he had to drive it was kind of roll to the middle of the corner, and other teams, you fire it in and V off the corner a bit more. But ultimately, that's what you need to do and learn how to do to be a good racing driver, is adapt to the car you're in and get the most out of it as quickly as you can. And of course, he showed that when he did a one-off in Monaco not that long ago.
We also need to talk about Mackenzie Creswell in terms of a driver that's been in the series for a little while, represented a couple of different teams as well. Starting on the second row, he's got to be one of those other drivers, along with Will McIntyre, obviously the other high-tech Pulsate driver on the second row, who have a chance of, if anything sort of happens between the two front runners, as we've seen them being very, very close this weekend, separated by thousandths of a second in qualifying. Those two drivers in the second row are going to be waiting to pounce.
Absolutely. They'll be trying to get to the front of the field as quickly as they can. We've heard a few times this weekend, it's not the easiest place to overtake, because the middle sector in that last corner, the aero wash where the turbulent air disrupts the front wing downforce, you get a bit of understeer, means that you can't sometimes get quite close enough to overtake unless the driver ahead makes a mistake. And mistakes are pretty few and far between at the level of driving that we have in this series. But they'll be doing everything they can and hoping that the front runners come together. But we've heard from Timek, he's going to be pushing Gerard Shee hard, but even if he finishes second, he's extending his championship lead, and he's not going to be doing anything silly if he can help it.
Yeah, well, the race is coming up in the next 15 minutes or so. Interesting also when you're down here in this area, and if you've never been in the GB3 paddock or any racing paddock, is the different types of music that's on at the moment. So we have some teams listen to reggae, we have some teams listen to drum and bass. I don't even know what you describe this music as in the background that seems to be coming from Chris Dittman Racing. Some kind of laid out kind of, maybe a sort of a Sunday morning in Ibiza vibe.
Summer house type.
Summer house, they just get themselves ready. And also you get heavy rock music as well, which is always cool to hear. We have, starting fifth actually, Louis Sharp, who was really dominant in that first race weekend at Alton Park. Hasn't quite been able to match the high-tech Pulsate cars here, but certainly in the title picture. What are you expecting from him today?
Yeah, he's got a slightly better starting position in this race, so he'll be looking to get some solid results. He's in the hunt for the championship, but it's just really hard to go up a mighty team who have really stepped up their game, I think, this year in high-tech Pulsate. We've seen historically they're so good at the foreign rounds. Of course, Rodin Motorsport also have teams in the higher formulas, Formula 3, Formula 2 and other similar series. So they've got some experience they can call on. But yeah, I really think high-tech Pulsate have stepped up this year, which is why that potentially Louis isn't showing the pace in this round that he has showed at others. But Rodin are a well-established team. They've won championships in this series and others many times before. They're good. Louis is a great driver. We've seen it in previous series and also this year, and I expect him to be fighting for podiums and wins every round pretty much going forward this season, along with his teammates, to be honest.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And Arthur Rojon also doing very well this year after the sort of learning year last year. I was also going to say Louis Sharp's a great juggler, because just behind our cameraman Cam, Louis Sharp is doing some juggling. Yeah, we can pan round right now and watch Louis Sharp juggling there, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's part of the routine we spoke about with the Elite Motorsport drivers. They were all out the back sort of doing team warm-ups, and it's interesting to see the different sort of almost outlooks and how they warm up. Some drivers like to do their own thing. Elite Motorsport have got a bit of a team thing going on, which is good for camaraderie and relaxing the drivers as well, because it's a lot of learning how to be a young racing driver is not only what you do on circuit, but how you get yourself best prepared. Do you like being relaxed? Do you like being hyper-focused? How do you get yourself in the the right mental state to perform on track. And a lot of that can be just what you do in the lead up to the race and in between them.
Yeah, and just to the right here we have Arthur Rojon just speaking with the Rodin team members there with a Germany football shirt on there. Maybe get his thoughts on whether Germany can win the Euros a little bit later on. I know they're playing later on today. Scotland playing Hungary later as well, so that's going to be an interesting one here at the Hungaroring. We've seen Louis Sharp juggle. Now let's find out about his latest bit of equipment he's got in his bag. It's his new helmet.
Hi, I'm Louis Sharp and I race for Rodin Motorsport. As you can see, I've got a new helmet for this weekend. Long overdue. My old helmet was a couple of years old, so I've been waiting very eagerly for this to be done. I'm really happy with how it's turned out. Obviously, it's a lot more white than my last helmet. My last one was predominantly black, whereas this is now white, so the colours have almost reversed a little bit. Got the silver fern on the front and on the back, so that's the same as the last design, and the overall design is very similar. It's just the main colour now being white. So I'm really happy with how it's turned out. I think it stands out a lot more on track. Also for me it's pretty special, so my whole karting career I always had a white helmet. I really wanted to get my helmet painted, but I can never afford it, so for me now to kind of go back to my roots with a white helmet, it means a lot. And like I said, I'm really happy with how it's turned out. I don't think it could be a lot much better, and hopefully you guys like it too.
I think, Piers, he should have just done what you did. If he said he couldn't afford at the time to paint his own helmet, it's just couldn't afford to get his helmet painted. It's just to paint his own helmet like you did. The very famous pink helmet of Piers Pryor when he drove in this series a few years back. Arthur Rojon is still there, and you've got a burning question, so I'm going to let you go and chat to him.
Yeah, why don't we grab a word with Arthur Rojon? Arthur, if you can go a quick word ahead of the race. Arthur, two things. First of all, going into race 2 of the weekend, how are you feeling for it? Also, secondly, you're a Frenchman, you're wearing a German football t-shirt. What's going on there?
I take what I have on my t-shirt case, and ready for race 2, starting P9. Really hard to overtake on the race. Need to make a really good first lap. Yesterday I managed to overtake on the first lap. I need to do the same today and try on the race after to make the overtake if I can.
You think the best opportunity to move forward is on the first lap?
Yeah, definitely. After first lap, it's almost impossible to overtake. With all the spray from the car in front, it's almost impossible. But it's not impossible. We need to try to overtake if we can.
Brilliant. Well, Arthur, we'll let you get on with your preparations. It's interesting to hear that it's a little difficult to overtake the cars and the current guys, but maybe next year we'll have a little bit of closer racing with the new DRS that's being added.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't hear anything that Arthur was saying there, just because we got the I Be The House going here from Rodin, which they started almost on cue. No, I think it's nice. I think it's nice to have in the background. Some other drivers, and by the way, I've just had word in my ear that they're repairing a barrier at the moment, and also the session that's on before will need to resume, so we might be here for quite some time. So the start time of this race will be slightly delayed, but Louis Sharp's dad there, we'll probably have a chance to chat to him if we are delayed too much. Another driver, Patrick Herzenreuder, who was in the series last year. We had a great catch-up with him, I remember, at Zandvoort, where we'll be racing next time out in 3 weeks' time. He's starting 6th today, just ahead of Jared Waberski. Two drivers there that have been around the block and could score some good points and will be aiming for the podium, you'd think.
Yeah, well, Patrick Herzenreuder's only his first full season. Of course, he joined us at Zandvoort last year, but it was only a one-off, and he's doing really well. JHR have really established themselves as a team to come and join the series and get yourself up to a really good level really quickly. They've got, of course, a lot of driver coaches we've spoken to behind the scenes who help them get there, and the team clearly nurture the drivers who are new, including Josh Irfan, who's having a good weekend this weekend as well, and we're looking to see how he gets on this weekend. We caught up with him brief, Patrick and Josh, both after the race yesterday, and they were both looking hot and warm after their race, because in these cars, yes, you've got the air rushing over the cockpit, but in the cockpit almost no airflow, so that's maybe not so much now. It's a bit cooler now than it was yesterday evening, but race 3 this weekend later on, it might heat up again.
Yeah, you'd imagine so. We can see Jared Roberski just getting into his car behind us. We'll maybe go and grab a word with him. Actually, I was looking for Pat, but I think Pat is out and about there, as we've just seen with Louis Sharp and also James Headley. Although we saw them, and they're not exactly dressed to get in the car straight away. There is a breeze here. Is that some concern for the drivers at certain corners on this track, would you say? Yeah,
generally these cars are quite wind affected, which basically means headwinds, you'll have more front grip, tailwind, you'll have less rear grip, so more oversteer. Side winds can also affect the car as well. If you have go through a corner and then the wind goes onto the inside of the car, it can make the car oversteer, and the opposite happens on the outside. If it's on the outside of the corner, it makes it understeer, and if it's gusty or potentially the winds changes speed throughout the race, then it can affect the car. But at the moment, it's just a bit of a breeze, a nice, comfortable summer breeze. But we had, I think it was Silverstone or one of the other rounds we had this season. We had very strong winds, and that could really affect the cars. But not too much this weekend, not so much of a concern.
Excellent. Well, Jared Wilburski sat over there on his tyre. I think starting 7th, you should probably go and have a quick word.
Yeah, why don't we grab a word with Jared Wilburski? Of course, a second season driver in the GB3 Championship, racing for Elite Motorsport. Jared, can we grab a quick word ahead of the race? You're just looking very chill, getting in the zone. I don't want to disrupt you too much, but Jared, looks like pace has been pretty good this weekend. I was watching practice, and you were there or thereabouts every session. What can you do in race 2 this week?
Yeah, I think, like I say, practice was really good. We just struggled a bit in quali with, the car gripped up quite a bit, and we kind of lost out a bit in quali, which is unfortunate because the pace was really good every session in practice. So starting a bit higher up P7 for this one. So yeah, hopefully, get into the top 5. That's kind of the main goal. After lap 1, it's kind of really hard to overtake around here. So the main goal is just to try and get into the top 5, and then starting 3rd for race 3. So hopefully get another good result then.
You mentioned just then in qualifying, you said the car gripped up, but of course, as racing drivers, we kind of know what that feels like. But for someone who hasn't driven a race car, how does that affect the car? Why would that affect how you did so well in qualifying?
Yeah, so obviously with it being so hot and we have so many different classes here racing, the track grips up with a load of different cars going around, different tyre compounds. So in qualifying, the track changed quite a lot compared to where we were in testing, and we kind of were just outside of the window. And I mean, 2/10 would have put me like in the top 3, so it was so close. But yeah, we're just missing that last little bit, so just a bit unfortunate. But yeah, we'll hopefully get some good results in the races.
You mentioned there, 2/10 would have put you well up inside the top 5. But I suppose one of the things that's kind of a blessing and a curse in GB3 is that, yes, of course, you make a small mistake or the car set wasn't quite there, but I would also imagine that that's kind of why you chose to go GB3 again, because it's only going to get more and more competitive as you go up the ladder, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think this year it's really strong. We have loads of second-year drivers, some third years with Jon and Mackenzie, my teammates. So, they have a lot of experience. So learning off Mackenzie has been really good. And, we pushed each other quite a lot in the team. So I think that's why I'm choosing GB3. And, with this track as an addition this year has been really good, because it just helps going up and whatever you do further on. Just gives you that experience.
Brilliant, Jared. Well, I'll let you get ready, because I've actually noticed that one of Mackenzie's car, there's a lot of frenzy of activity going on the car. It looks like potentially the fire extinguisher may have gone off. Yeah, Jared's nodding to me. So that's a bit of a last-minute panic for the Motorsport team. But if anyone can get that car ready to go again, they'll be the ones. Those fire extinguishers are the effectively is a pull cord in the car that if there is a fire on the circuit or anything goes wrong in terms of fire, either the marshal driver can pull the ripcord, and it basically sprays fire smothering foam both over the driver, the engine, the exhaust and everything like that. But unfortunately, if it goes off when it's not supposed to, like it has there, then you have to clean everything and then reinstall another fire extinguisher, because of course you can't race without an active fire extinguisher for safety reasons. I might jump in and grab a word with one of the team when they finish to see if they manage to get it all ready and going.
It seems like we probably don't want to jump in just while they're doing their job, but I'm sure we can jump in as well when they've got that sorted there. It's unfortunate that, isn't it? Anyway, Timur Kaharchik had a great time out in Spa last time, 2 race wins, 3 podiums, came second yesterday, starts second again today, and Piers caught up with him earlier.
Another great day for High-Tech Pulse yesterday. Second place on the road for yourself, but you've extended your championship lead. You must be pretty happy.
Yeah, that's correct. 7th consecutive win for High-Tech GP, which seems pretty crazy, that we keep on such a good form for a long time already. And yeah, just happy to bring back P2. Didn't risk much during the race. I know that there is my place in order, and I just had to wait if Gerard would do any mistake or anything like that, which he didn't. So yeah, just bring home safe points, and yeah, happy to extend my championship lead. Hopefully we can score some good results in race 2, race 3 today.
Let's talk about that reverse grid. Do you think you're going to be able to make much progress? Is it easy or difficult to overtake around here?
It's tough to overtake here, There's quite a lot of aero wash throughout second sector, and then obviously last corner is also a bit difficult when following someone. So yeah, I think it will be tough to overtake. We will just have to count for some chaos or whatever. But I think we have the pace on track to show it, to maybe try to fight someone up in front, but it's so hard to overtake that. It will be really difficult. But we will see, you know, that's racing. You never know how it will turn out. The Spa race was so chaotic that, you know, me coming from P12, not doing so much, ended up P4. So, yeah, you never know. We just have to do our job, keep our nose clean, and we'll see what we can do.
What would a good day look like for you today?
I think another podium would be great, obviously. We have high-tech starting 1, 2, 3. So we just have to, you know, do a big job like yesterday with me and JR, just get away from the pack and then have a bit of our own race. I think we have the pace, all our 3 cars, to be up there in front and just get away. So yeah, another podium and then just finish, I think, the race free, because, you know, that's what's most important about. Just getting across the line, getting the points in the back. I know that my championships rivals are behind me, so you know, it's another good weekend to show that we can extend our championship lead and prove that our speed is so good.
Thanks, Timek. Good luck today.
John Bennett there, just doing some last-minute preparations, watching a couple of TikToks, maybe texting friends and family, making sure they're up, ready to watch back at home. And hello to everyone watching around the world, as we have a lot of international drivers. John Bennett starting 8th today. We kind of discussed that he's one of those drivers that certainly has the pace. He'll just need to get past a few cars, including his teammate Pat Herzenroeder.
Yeah, we've spoken about the fact that it's difficult to overtake it this weekend, but Pat Herzenroeder had probably his strongest weekend so far in the GB3 Championship. He's qualified 7th yesterday. He's going to be starting 6th in this race after a good second fastest qualifying lap. But actually, Pat's here. I'll go and grab a word with actually. So we've got a bit of time to talk to some of the drivers. Hopefully, I'm not interrupting too much Pat and also David. Am I interrupting you? Coming over here? Okay, well, I thought I'd come and grab a word. We've got a few minutes to kill because a race crashed in the previous race. Pat, first of all, we spoke to you briefly after yesterday's race, but a really strong weekend from you so far. You must be happy with how things are trending.
Yeah, very happy. I mean, even from practice, well, it's practice 2 really. I've been inside the top 10 comfortably, and then put a P7 and now P6 for race 2 this morning. So looking forward to having a good race, get a good start, and then crack on from there.
And we chatted to you at a previous run. I think it was Alton Park, wasn't it? And we brought in your mentor, coach, helper, David Brabham. David, of course, hugely experienced racing driver yourself, but you know, you're helping Pat along, and clearly whatever you're doing is working because he's making strides forward every round we see him.
Well, I wouldn't put all the credit. You know, he's got a good team around him, and you know, at the end of the day, Pat has the steering wheel in his hands, doesn't he? So he's got to do it. And as he said earlier, he's had quite a strong weekend this weekend. You know, he qualified very well. Practice, he was running top 10 easily, top 6. So yeah, really happy with his progress.
Yeah. And what have you guys been working on since we caught up with you at Alton Park? I think that was somewhere towards the beginning of your relationship, and clearly it's built and progressed since then. David, first of all, you know, how are you helping Pat, and what's he been doing so well that's moving him up the field?
Well, at the end of the day, it's about getting to know the individual as much as it is looking at the data. So when you start to understand how the driver thinks, how they view the world as such, sometimes some little adjustments can actually make quite a difference to the driver themselves. So that's more my role. Obviously, he works with Mike in the team as well in terms of looking at data and so forth. So I take a slightly step back, look at the bigger picture, and look at the little areas where I think can make the most gain, and then we talk about it.
So it's almost, Pat, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like David's almost like the matrix that helps you pull everything together with the wealth of experience he has. Of course, you've got the help from the team with the car, you've got the help from Mike, your driver coach, along with you, so that's all the hard stuff, and then you know, the far factual stuff, but I suppose the experience of someone like David, really valuable.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we do it all together with the team, you know, look at data, look at video, and then we'll go either during the race weekend and afterwards with David and just look through it all and see where the sort of fractional improvements can be made. Might not even be driving, might just be other things like psychological, or it could well be driving, but but this weekend has just proven how we've been working together has really, you know, put me up the field.
Amazing. Well, it's great to see that things going in the right direction. We'll let you have a quick chat before the race because I know you need to get in the zone. So good to see you doing so well, and hopefully a good race from yourself, Pat. Yeah, really interested to hear about all the help that David is helping Pat with, and it's clearly working.
Yeah, a formidable partnership, I would say. Let's just keep walking down. I mean, Lewis Sharp's dad is here. We're going to have a look at the track at the Hungaroring in just a second, if you want to be reminded of it. But let's go and see if he wants to talk to us. I think he always wants to talk to us, doesn't he? Mr. Sharp. What can your son do from 5th place today?
Good question. Consolidate, I think. The goal is maybe get 1 or 2 into turn 1, and then just try and maintain that for the rest of the race.
It seems like a podium's definitely within its reach, but the high-tech Pulse 8 cars have been very strong, haven't they?
Hey, they're having a great weekend. They're very strong. So we've been trying to catch up. We think we might have found something yesterday, so we've made a wee tweak to the car. So we'll see what that brings.
Excellent stuff, and I imagine a lot of people watching back home on a nice Sunday evening.
Yeah, a lot of people. Hello, everyone back home. Great that you're still up watching, but hey, we're having a ball. We're so grateful for the opportunity, and well done GB3 bring everyone here. So fantastic stuff.
It is great to be at another F1 track here, and it's nice to know that Roden have got the good tunes on as well.
Always got the good tunes on.
Excellent stuff. A very, very cool team. And I mentioned the track. Let's take a look at the Hungaroring in more detail.
So the Hungaroring then, of course, with all of its difficulty when it comes to overtaking, the best overtaking opportunity is that down into turn 1. We drop down the hill through turn 2 and 3, then rising back up towards turn 4, where track limits will be seen by race control. Going through 6 and 7, and then through the S's section at 8, 9, 10 and 11, and into the third and final sector at 12. We'll begin this climb back up through 13 and 14, the double hairpin sequence to end the lap. It is a difficult one when it comes to overtakes, but over the 2.7 miles of racetrack, there are plenty of opportunities if you are brave. The 14 turns, most notably down into turn 1, and of course that chicane at 6 and 7. Plenty of undulation around here as well, dropping down to the lowest point coming out of turn 3 before rising back up the hill at 34.7 metres of elevation.
Let's ride on board the Hungaroring circuit with Edward Pearson in his Vortec Motorsport car, dropping downhill towards turn 1, heavy braking zone to one of the slowest corners on the circuit. An overtaking opportunity on the first lap and throughout the race. We get downhill all the way through the first sector. Watch out for track limits on the exit. The AstroTurf doesn't offer much grip. We head over to the right-hand side. Turn number 2, overtaking opportunity on the inside and the outside. Doesn't quite need to make the apex as the corner rolls downhill and off camber. Bring it back slightly to the left-hand side for the flat-out turn number 3. Now, turn number 4 coming up. We now rise uphill, lowest part of the circuit here. Turn number 4, full commitment on the entry. Watch out for track limits on the exit. Massive G-force, massive handful of oversteer for Ed Pearson there. Then turn number 5, the corner that goes on forever and ever. Keeps going right. Again, track limits. Watch out for that on the exit. Now, technical chicane for turns 6 and 7. Nibble the curb on the right and on the left. Use all of the road on the exit. A slower middle sector. We go left once again. Keep it left to open up the right as we've got a bit of a long run towards turn number 11. Turn number 10 coming up, the left-hand kink, completely flat out in the GB3 cars. Then 11, again, another full commitment corner. Just a slight lift through here. Watch out, try and keep the car within the track limits on the exit. Another heavy braking zone, downhill once again, into the final sector. Hit the apex, watch out for track limits. Straight over to the right-hand side, uphill now we roll. Try and nip a late apex for a good run through the second last corner. And then a technical last corner as well. 2 long corners to finish the lap. The tyres can really go away on a hot lap like this with the high track temperatures that we're experiencing this weekend. And that is a lap on board the Hungaroring circuit. Ed Pearson, and look who it is, Ed Pearson. Edward, this weekend, I know by your own standards you wanted to be faster. We've just seen an on-board lap with you. It looks rapid. What is it like to drive around the Hungaroring circuit in one of these cars?
Well, no, it's great. I mean, I think we've been a bit up and down this weekend, as you can see by quali. We weren't where we wanted to be, and we're out of position. Sadly, it is again. We were the same at Spa, but even in the races when we didn't go forward, I think we did have pace to go forward. It's just, even though it's such a great circuit, it's very hard to overtake with only such a short straight. So it's really hard to make progress. Colin did a great job yesterday doing it all on the first lap. Luckily, I just got unluckily, I got held back a bit. But that's racing, I guess, at the end of the day. So, yeah, focus on this race now.
It is racing, of course. We've still got 2 opportunities for some good results. Who knows? We might have a shower. We've had a few pop up here and there. How would you deal with a shower on some slick tyres? Do you look forward to that?
I'd love a bit of that. Me and Colin are always good at that sort of like out-the-box situation. So I'd love that, actually. I'd really want a little bit of rain, mix it up a bit, and we'd make progress more, 100%.
And let's also, we've been hearing that it's quite tricky to overtake this weekend. In fact, the middle sector is so, to and fro. And part of the reason is because all the drivers are so close. Qualifying, it was less than a second for the top 10. A second was like down to 15th or something, which is such fine margins. But I don't know if you've seen or not, but the new GB3 car for next year, is that something that excites you a little bit, potentially, if you're still here next year?
It's interesting. It is interesting to see the championship grow. I think it's great for the championship to have something that can compete with other guys
in bigger championships. I think it's great for the championship as a whole. And would it interest me? Of course it interests me, but we'll have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see indeed, but also it includes DRS, which potentially on a circuit like this would be a good addition.
Yeah, I think it would be a good addition, but at the same time, I think DRS is good, but I don't think too much. It needs to be a balance, because we need to learn how to race. That's why we're here at the end of the day. So yeah, it's interesting, but at the same time, maybe not.
Brilliant, Edward. We'll let you go and get ready. It's time you got your kit on, so I think we're very soon about to go racing. Jonas, I'm looking forward to getting going underway.
I was getting told off a little bit there because they've got to be in the car. There's set times, the drivers have to be in cars. It's fine. I mean, the team are okay with it. But yeah, good to ride on board with Ed Pearson there, and hopefully he can do something from a little bit further back there. Drivers starting to get in cars now. Louis Sharp and James Head, as we saw earlier, they finished their juggling, they finished their warming up. They're getting into their cars there. You see the VRD Arden boys also getting into their cars now. So the race isn't too far away. We still have a few minutes of the race that's going on before us on this package here at the Hungaroring. Great to be in Hungary, Piers. Is it your first time in Hungary?
It is my first time in Hungary. I've actually visited quite a few circuits this year that I haven't been to. I've never been to Spa before. I haven't been to Hungary, so I'm really enjoying coming to some of these circuits. And I'm also looking forward to going to Zandvoort once again, but not in October, because last year it was freezing. Zandvoort.
Well, yeah, I'm really looking forward to going back to Zandvoort. Last year, it was very, very incredibly windy, and it's going to be fun to see what happens there this time around. When you look around this track here, it's an F1 track, but it's a very old F1 track. They don't do a lot of events here, actually, so lots of building work going on here. So they're certainly investing in this track as an F1 track. And when it comes to these drivers performing on these tracks, to get onto an F1 circuit like we have at Silverstone, Zandvoort, Spa, here at the Hungaroring, that must be very important for a young driver.
Hugely important. A lot of these drivers will be looking to get to F1 in the future. That will be their goal. They want to race in Formula 1. So therefore, every time that you can race on a circuit that potentially you'll be using later on in your career, it will be extra experience that you have against your competitors in the future. And the fact that every year we get more F1 circuits in the GB3 calendar. We already had Silverstone, we had at Spa, Hungaroring, as you mentioned, Zandvoort. It's just extra little bits of value and knowledge about the circuits and the race conditions that will help them towards their ultimate goal. And even if the drivers don't end up in Formula 1, it's a very expensive to get there, and also there's a lot of things that have to go your way. They'll be wanting to racing another series, and all the circuits like Hungaroring, Zandvoort, Spa, Silverstone are on pretty much all of the elite series.
Well, look, to be in with a chance of getting to F1 and these elite series, you need to first do well in GB3 and championships like this. So obviously getting on pole position is a great place to be. That is where Gerard J is for High Tech Pulse 8, and let's hear more from him now.
Gerard, brilliant qualifying session for yourself. Pole position, you must be very happy with that.
Yeah, I'm very happy with pole, especially double pole, but still need to do the job done in the race.
And you've got your teammate Timek right behind you, and then of course Will there, not too far away as well. It's going to be a close race, judging by the times in qualifying. Is it going to be overtaking around here? Where do you think the main threat is going to be?
I think just about the starts, and if you get the starts right, then the rest of the track is pretty narrow. So yeah, hopefully we get a good start and then get into the ribbon.
It's a lot warmer here than it has been at some of the other rounds in the UK. Does that make a difference in terms of how you have to approach the race, maybe the tyres?
Yeah, especially in quali we need to do like sort of a cool lap. Usually we don't, but yeah, the race is about managing the tyres, and yeah, we'll see.
We'll see, and of course 3 races over the weekend. What do you reckon you can get out of this weekend after this good qualifying session?
Well, the best is obviously the race win. And yeah, and we'll see what's happened next.
Gerard, congratulations. We'll see you starting from pole position in race 1.
Thank you. And race 2.
Yeah, so Gerard J with High Tech Pulse 8 starting on pole position. His teammate Timek Kaharczyk right behind, and his then teammate, or both their teammates behind, Will McIntyre. Could be another impressive performance from him. We can just see in the background Mackenzie Creswell, the yellow car in the background, number 16, who's starting 4th. They've managed to get that fire extinguisher problem sorted. Yeah,
that's an absolutely mammoth effort from the team. We saw in the back of shot when we were chatting to Jared Wilburski that the team were frantically working on that car because the fire extinguisher went off. Elite Motorsport done an excellent job to basically disassemble the half of the back of the car, clean it all out, and input a new fire extinguisher system and get it ready to go again. So that would have been stress to the team, but Mackenzie looks chilled as ever.
Yeah, and also his dad's just milling around here as well, and he seems calm as well. So if the dad's calm, the son's calm, and we're all good. So the race before has just finished, so the cars are going to be going out in just a second. You see them lining up there. So before we get there, let's take a quick look at the standings. And obviously we're over halfway now? Yeah, we're just about over halfway in the GB3 Championship this season. And Timek Kaharczyk has that lead then. He is the championship leader, high-tech pulsate, on 212 points, with Will McIntyre, his teammate, second place now after another good performance yesterday, good finish on 193. Louis Sharp, the New Zealand driver with Rodin Motorsport, on 185 in third place. Obviously had a great start to the season at Silverstone. Some very Alta Park, sorry. Some very consistent results as well since then. And John Bennett with JHR Developments. You'll see him in the slightly darker grey of the car of the high-tech pulsate. He's with JHR. He's fourth with 172. Uga Chukwu, who's not racing in GB3 here this weekend, he's 155. James Headley standing in for him. And then Mackenzie Creswell in sixth on 144. The chap we just spoke about there in the yellow car we were talking about. And here's when it comes to the championship table there. Timek Kaharczyk with that lead there, 212 points to Will McIntyre's 193. Still very close.
Yeah, it's still very close at the front of the field, and as much as, of course, Timek Kaharczyk wants to extend the championship lead and try and get the race win, second place with Will McIntyre a little bit further down, still well within the top 10, would be a good result for him. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out over the season, because a good qualifying can really set your weekend up well, as we've seen from Kaharczyk, but it only takes one round, like maybe potentially Sharp had at Spa, where you have a couple of DNS and it can all turn on its head.
Yeah, and you say Gerard Shea, he's 7th place, 135 points. Jared Waberski with Elite Motorsports on 110 in 8th. Arthur Rojon, 87th in 9th, with Hugo Schwarzer, the German driver, 76 there in 10th place. So interesting that Hugo Schwarzer is the German driver in 10th. We've got Arthur Rojon, who's French, wearing the German shirt. Why did he tell you he was wearing a German shirt?
He just said he can take what he's got in his wardrobe, so clearly didn't buy a French shirt. Maybe that's a premonition for the Euros.
Maybe he's got an incredible collection of football shirts. Who knows? So obviously Hugo Schwarzer, another driver who is racing in the championship for the first time this year. And I guess when you come into this championship, and a lot of drivers will come from a sort of similar, sort of lower down categories, but also a lot of drivers will jump straight from karts into GB3 occasionally, and that is a really big jump, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Hugo Schwarzer had Ginetta Juniors previously, so again, a massive jump, and he's doing very well considering. And his first year in the championship, consistently close to his teammates, who are Waberski and Mackenzie Creswell, two second and a half year drivers, so of course they're both very experienced in this championship, so to be up with them is good for him, but also he'll be learning a lot from them about the championship. I would imagine Hugo Schwarzer will be coming back next year hoping for a championship season, although say that he's still within the top 10, so can get a good result this year, and who knows what the future will hold. We heard from Ed Piers, and the drivers decide what goes on next year fairly late in the season, because it depends on budgetary restrictions, what opportunities they have, and also what they think is going to be best for their career at the time.
Yeah, and also, we've seen that with James Headley, who we've mentioned already, but also Javier Segura, the Spanish driver, racing this weekend with Chris Dittman Racing. And, when you have already raced in this championship before, I guess it's slightly easier to come in and do the odd race like they're doing. But a lot of drivers, when they're working out what their next step is in the motorsports ladder, they'll come and do, and I'm sure you may have done this yourself, they'll come and do the odd race to see how they like it. And it's probably quite hard to get a good grasp of whether you like it or not, because you have to have time in that car.
Yeah, exactly. Seat time is hugely important in terms of overall seat time. The more time you can get on track in a race car, the more you can hone your skills. But also, if you want to do well in a championship, of course, the more seat time you have in that car, you're going to do better. It makes logical sense. But drivers will often pop in for odd rounds here and there. We may see some drivers pop in for individual rounds, even in the GB3 Championship later this year. We've also seen drivers who have done a few rounds in a row and then moved on to other things. Uga Chukwu still up there in the championship, but is I don't believe are going to be joining us for all of the remaining rounds this season, so he'll probably drop down the table and open up opportunities for those drivers who are doing the full season. And it's just it's the way the cookie crumbles. People find their own way in the sport, and hopefully that they think that GB3 is a good opportunity to get them to go wherever they want to be.
Yeah, and Uga Chukwu obviously in the McLaren package of their academy, so very highly thought after, a very tall driver. You can always spot him when he's in the car because his head is a little bit higher than most of the other drivers. When you are a new driver coming into this championship, I guess this is not a great track because there's not as much data, so for teams they can't really get a benchmark of, for example, if you're going into Rodin and you're at Donington, they'll have loads of different data there. They'll know how quickly that their car went around there last year, so you can have a good idea of how quick you are and where the gaps are to make up and find that time if you are to do the championship.
Yeah, it's in a bit of both, really, because on the one hand you mentioned that if you go to a circuit that drivers and teams have been at for years, and there's unlimited amount of data to look through, it's helpful because you can see where the level is and you can estimate, or find out where your time is losing. But also, if a new driver joins at a circuit like this, Javier Segura, for example, the GB3 Championship has never raced at the Hungaroring before. The teams may have done private tests, but there won't be a huge amount of data. And if you're a new driver to a championship which is going to a place for the first time, you've got an opportunity to show off your skills and potentially go even slightly higher up the grid than you would normally by just getting to grips with things quicker. If you're a bit more organic and you're less in the habits of how you should drive a certain circuit, you come to a new circuit, you can find the way and find the best way for you and your car.
We also talked, and you mentioned this yesterday as well, the amount of testing you can do in the GB3 Championship. For other drivers, I think Sean Rashid, I think he bought his own car at one point and took it over so he could practice. So, I mean, I guess when you come to any kind of racing, the more seat time you're getting, the better chance you've got of honing your craft and everything like that. So it's fascinating to see. The cars are going to come out in just a second. So, Piers, we come to the moment in time where I have to ask you, what do you think is going to happen in this race? We have 3 high-tech Polestate cars. You can see there Gerard Shea in the background there. You'll see the car of Timek Kahacek coming past now, number 22, and also Will McIntyre, number 21 there, with Mackenzie Cresswell, that yellow car you can see in shot now, starting 4th, and then Louis Sharp starting behind in 5th. One of those 5 drivers going to win the race, Piers?
Almost certainly. I think it's you'd be a brave man to bet against a high-tech Polestate driver not winning this race. I think it's going to be one of them. Who wins the race? Probably between Shea and Kuharczyk, both being on the front row. Whoever gets away from the line well and leads, I reckon whoever leads out of turn 2 or 3 is going to win this race.
It's going to be very interesting to see. We have some of the drivers coming in now. Sean Rashid there, and James Headley, the number 2 car, the latest car to go past that cameraman Cam just there. A driver that knows how to make some overtakes, so watch out for him. I imagine there's going to be some good opportunities for him. Hugo Schwarzer just behind, who we mentioned there, the German driver, 10th in the championship now. And this chap here, Josh Irfan, who's just gone past there, will start the next race later on, the reverse grid race on pole position, because the first 12 drivers are reversed. Can you just explain why that is just before we get started with this second race?
Yeah, we used to have a full reverse grid in the GB3 Championship. Regulations and rules ever so slightly tweaked this year. Top 12 are reversed for race 3 because it basically gives the drivers an opportunity to fight forward, because effectively in a normal race like this, the quickest drivers are at the front, the slowest drivers are at the back, so the race comes apart. When you reverse the grid, everyone comes together, so it's a good opportunity for the drivers to learn some racecraft and practice that.
You know what that alarm there means? It means it's time for you to get to the commentary box and for us to go racing here for the second time this weekend, second of 3 races here at the Hungaroring, just outside Budapest in Hungary.
What a fantastic occasion it is then to come racing at the Hungaroring. Of course, the season before this has seen victories for Louis Sharp and John Bennett before we got that streak of victories from High-Tech Polestate, going from Alton Park through Silverstone, through Spa, and starting here at the Hungaroring as well. Undefeated in the last 7 races. Of course, after this we'll head to Zandvoort, then over to Silverstone as we return to the UK before we start to wrap up the championship. Donington Park before we head back to Kent for Brands Hatch. But of course the focus of attention is here at the Hungaroring. An excellent race from Gerard Shea yesterday saw him take victory from pole position on the circuit, which is very difficult to overtake at. Timek Kahacek, his teammate, could not find a way past. Will it be different in this race? Of course. You can overtake round here if you're brave. Down into turn 1, down into turn 2 where we saw plenty of lockups, and hey, maybe even into the chicane at 6 and 7. And of course, down into turn 12. A lot of corners to navigate between that though, with the S's section there going through 8, 9, 10 and 11. Going through 13 and 14, the double hairpin section to end the lap around this 2.7 mile circuit. Of course, over the 14 turns, the first of which comes after 570 metres of acceleration coming from turn 1 Of course, 35 metres of elevation basically around this circuit. It is a tricky one for our drivers to navigate, that is for sure. They're doing their reconnaissance laps. They've come out of the pit lane, they've worked their way round onto the starting grid. Then they'll do a formation lap, and then we'll get this race start. Yes, it is slightly delayed, courtesy of some issues elsewhere around here at the Hungaroring in some of the previous races, which is why we are slightly behind on schedule, but still getting ready for what will surely be an excellent race. Can Gerard Chi take victory? We'll have to wait and see. I mean, it was an excellent performance from him yesterday, dominating the race, but he was closed down on quite a bit by Timek Kuharczyk, who was trying to keep him very close for company as the race was unfolding. And of course, Timek Kuharczyk being the championship leader by 19 points. Could he be extending that championship lead? Of course, the driver who's second in the championship, Will McIntyre, another high-tech Pulse 8 driver, will start just one position behind Timek Kuharczyk this race, as he will be starting from third place. And I think for Will Mac, it'll probably be a high priority for him to be able to beat potentially both his teammates, but at a bare minimum, Timek Kuharczyk. You know, that's the important bit for Will McIntyre. Of course, you had the disappointment for Louis Sharp, finishing just in 7th position after his worst qualifying in GB3 thus far yesterday. He's third in the championship. Not losing touch of Timek Kuharczyk in the title race. I wouldn't say anyone really is, because of course we are only 10 races in. Realistically, we're 9 races into the championship, because of course we had that cancelled one at Silverstone that may be rescheduled. We don't really know what's going to happen with that one at the moment, but we'll classify it as cancelled. We've only had 9 races. We'll take a look at the starting grid as they'll begin their formation lap as well to see exactly what the deal is. Of course, Gerard Chi starting from pole position for the second consecutive time. Timek Kuharczyk, our championship leader by 19 points, will start alongside. Will McIntyre makes it a 1-2-3 for the high-tech Pulse 8 team, with Mackenzie Cresswell, who hasn't qualified outside of the top 6 all season. He'll be starting this one from 4th for Elite. Louis Sharp in 5th position, of course, alongside Patrick Hoytsenreder with his best ever qualifying in GB3. Fantastic again from him. Jared Oberski, 7th position for him, with John Bennett starting alongside in 8th place. He was 3rd yesterday, so a big disappointment for him. Arthur Ojon in 9th position. Noah Ping had a penalty yesterday to drop him down the order. He started from 18th, ended up in 13th. Sean Rashid in 11th position. James Headley qualified 5th yesterday, dropped down to 12th. His second lap clearly was not so great. Hugo Schwarzer in 13th position, with Josh Erfin, who'll be getting ready for later on in the afternoon, where we'll be starting from the reverse grid pole, so it's about getting whatever he can and making sure the car is safe during this race. Javier Segura will start from 15th position, with Nikita Johnson in 16th place. The final few positions see Flynn Jacks, Colin Queen, who worked up an awful lot of positions from the rear of the field yesterday, and an excellent performance for the Fortec Motorsports team. Ed Pearson in 19th, who we saw the onboard lap around here, with Sebastian Murray in 20th position. The final car on the grid will be Aditya Kulkarni for the Hill Speed team. A lot to talk about, a lot to go through, a lot of drama in the race, but I think we might well be seeing a fairly calm one, maybe even at the front as to what we saw yesterday. Lewis McGlade, Piers Pryor in the commentary booth. Piers, I mean, I say it's still pretty toasty around there, but it does look a little bit cooler than it was yesterday.
Yeah, a little bit cooler than it was yesterday afternoon, evening time. However, the not short jog from the from the pit lane to the commentary box means that I'm a little bit sweatier than, well, probably about as sweaty as the drivers are. But we're looking forward to the racing heating up as well. As we've heard from most of the drivers, tricky to overtake around this Hungaroring circuit once the race settles in. So I'm expecting the drivers, having done one race, to potentially start getting their elbows out a little bit. Although I don't know if the 3 high-tech Pulse 8 drivers at the front of the field have had a conversation before the race, maybe from the team saying, guys, you're all in the top 3. If you all finish where you start, it's a good result for yourself and the team. Don't do anything silly.
I know you don't abide by the whole 7 races joint with the HHC record from 2015, because obviously different era. At least it is a new record for the modern era of GB3, and we could be breaking that one anyway with an 8th win. Do you reckon it's going to happen here for High-Tech? I mean, they're in a great spot, 1, 2 and 3.
As I said on the as the drivers were lining up in the pit lane, I think you'd be a brave man to bet against a High-Tech Pulse 8 win in this race.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, I remember what you also said down in the paddock area, which I do agree with, which is whoever's leading coming out of at least turn 2 or 3, they will be the one to take victory. Surely that's going to be the main thing here.
Yes, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Not really any threat of rain at this stage in the race, but potentially later in the day. Looking forward to the second race of the weekend, round 11 of the GB3 Championship. Lewis, I'll let you take us through the start.
Well, there's High-Tech once again on the front row. Gerard Shee, Timmy Kuharczyk, Will McIntyre, their teammate, will start in third position. 570 metres of racing down towards that first corner. We are underway here at the Hungaroring, and I think it's a better start from Timmy Kuharczyk than it was yesterday. He can't quite drag himself alongside in that number 22 High-Tech Pulsate team, but look at Louis Sharp going on the attack in the number 7 Roden Motorsports car on the outside. 3 wide on the second row there, of course, with Mackenzie Cresswell, Patrick Huitzenroder and Jared Waberski as they work their way down the hill. Excellent start, though, from Gerard Shee, who's still managing to hold onto the front of the field. Louis Sharp on the attack, though.
What a start from Louis Sharp. I was watching out the commentary box window. He got an absolute mega launch and has gone from 5th to 4th. Well, 4th to 3rd, now into 2nd place, is piling the pressure on. I said he'd be a brave man to bet against the High-Tech Pulsate win. Well, Louis Sharp is that brave man.
Yeah, he says, hang on a sec, I've got a lot to say in this race, as he absolutely fires his way up the order. One of the VRD racing cars there has gone slightly wide. As here comes Louis Sharp for the race lead, and he's gone for it. He's gone down the inside of Gerard Shee, coming down to the 6 and 7. No. And Gerard Shee, I think, has got a slow run.
No, he's got an issue. I think Gerard Shee's actually got an issue. He put his hand out the cockpit and is slowing, so all of the teammates have gone past him. Yes, Gerard Shee falling down the order will confirm whether that's a car issue. Yeah, it looks almost certainly like it's a car issue. We don't know what's gone on there, but that's an absolutely bitter blow for Gerard Shee. But the race still continues at the front of the field as Louis Sharp leads.
Yeah, wow, maybe we should have been braver, men. My goodness me, that's absolutely insane. There's a bit of a squeeze there as John Bennett getting sent off the road a little bit by Noah Ping, of course, in that VRD racing car. And here comes James Headley in the black, white with yellow highlights Roden Motorsports car, trying to get to the outside of John Bennett, going down into the penultimate corner. Now through the final one. What a crazy opening lap this was here at the Hungaroring as they work their way back out onto the start-finish straight. Louis Sharp will lead by 0.8 of a second over Timmy Kuharczyk. Will McIntyre in third. And then, of course, it is Mackenzie Cresswell in 4th position. Patrick Huitzenroder, then Jared Waberski and Noah Ping as John Bennett is trying to find his way past Ping, and a couple of lockups down into T1. I think that might well have been one of the Elite Motorsports cars.
Yeah, that was the number 33 of Hugo Schwarzer locking up into turn number 1. But we've actually got Gerard Shee in the pit lane, which confirms that he's got an issue. Bitterly disappointing for Gerard Shee.
Well, being told that a race start is under investigation. I mean, you said that was a great start from Louis Sharp. Could it have been too good? That's the question. Could there have been a jump start in there? We don't see it too often.
Unfortunately, I couldn't quite see the actual start of the race. I saw them once they got rolling, because just after the start-finish line here in the commentary box on site, Lewis, and yeah, I couldn't quite tell you definitively, but it's under investigation, and they will have a look at the cameras available to see if it was a jump start. But regardless, even if Louis Sharp even if he did jump the start, speculation of course, after the start happened, overtook one car into turn number 1, another car into turn number 2, and then went for the lead into the chicane on the first lap. So a brilliant show of racecraft from Louis Sharp. Clearly got those tyres warmed and ready and fired up well. As we see a move further down the field, a look up the inside, the number 11 of John Bennett having a feint to the inside of Noah Ping, but couldn't quite get it done that time.
Yeah, trying to grab 7th position there was John Bennett, trying to get down that charcoal grey of the VRD racing car that Noah Ping is piloting around here, back out onto the start-finish straight as we'll take a look on replay as to what was happening a little bit further down the order. Wow, Flynn Jacks absolutely sent up into the air. That is crazy. You don't see that too often. It was Sean Rashid down the inside.
Yeah, it was Sean Rashid for the VRD by Argentine there, going up the inside of the chicane, not quite potentially getting alongside enough, or maybe it was Flynn Jackson not quite seeing him, but wheel-to-wheel contact never goes well. I'm sure one or both of those cars will be not quite pointing exactly in the same direction it did at the start of the race, but it seems like there's a bit of a gap opening out in front of the Roden car of Arthur Rojon, but the rest of the field still pretty much nose to tail.
Any Louis Sharp fans out there? Just a note from race control. Race start clear. We are in for the race. Here we go. That is what we wanted to see. 1.1 seconds now clear of Timmy Kuharczyk, who did have good pace later on in the race yesterday. So I would suspect Kuharczyk might be pulling the same thing, and he might get stronger as the race goes on. Although that said, Louis Sharp of that Roden Motorsports car is pulling out quite the gap on Kuharczyk right now.
Yeah, he is. He's pushing hard at the start of the race, although Kuharczyk's actually just set a purple first sector. So he's pushing on, and I was about to say exactly the same thing as you, Lewis. I think we're on the same wavelength. Kuharczyk came on very strong at the second half of yesterday's race, potentially just looking after his tyres in the early stages. Kuharczyk, arguably the fastest of the high-tech Pulsate drivers in the race yesterday, closing the gap to Gerard Shee, and I expect the gap at the front of the field, as much as it's at 1.3 seconds now, I expect it to close, and we know Timet Kuharczyk does not hold back any punches. He said this year that he wants to keep it clean and maintain that championship lead, but if there's a gap, he's going to fill it.
Yeah, indeed, and he is trying to close down on a driver that he is battling for in the championship. Louis Sharp is in third position in the championship, who just sets the fastest lap of the race once more. Arthur Rojan, I think, has had a bit of a problem as he's dropped right the way down the order in his Rodin Motorsports car. I will say, it was the stat that we spoke about quite a lot at Spa. When it comes to main race victories, of course, here in GB3, so that's race 1 and race 2, the ones from the qualifying positions. High-tech, high-tech Pulsate as they are now, have won every single main race outside of the UK for the last 3 years. They won in 22, both the races at Spa. They won both race 1 and race 2, and race 1 and race 2 at Spa and at Zandvoort. They've done it this year as well. Louis Sharp could be the one to end that streak.
That would be a statement of intent from Louis Sharp as well, especially after what was a tricky qualifying. And it's a really impressive showing for Sharp, because he was a bit disappointed. He wasn't even the fastest Rodin car in for qualifying for race number 1. Race number 2 clearly put 2 very similar laps together in qualifying, which shows how important consistency of fast laps in qualifying is to the GB3 Championship. And then has absolutely put the hammer down in this race, thrown the cat amongst the pigeons, driven an incredible, potentially the best first lap I've seen maybe not in GB3 history. We've had a few exceptional race 3 first laps from the likes of Luke Browning and Jol Grampers a couple of years ago especially, and Callum Boyson also springs to mind. But to go up that many places in a non-reverse grid race in a car potentially that isn't or hasn't had the pace compared to the high-techs this weekend, hugely impressive. But also we're looking at Mackenzie Cresswell, who's been very impressive this weekend. Often kind of goes semi under the radar, does with Cresswell, because he's always there or thereabouts. But even more impressive that he's managing to fly around in fourth place, considering that car was in pieces just minutes before the start of the race with a fire extinguisher going off.
Yeah, very, very impressive. I will say, opening lap drama. I'm pretty sure it was 2022 Jol Granfors at Donington. I can't remember if it was race 1 or race 2 of the weekend, but that was a pretty impressive feat where he worked his way up quite a lot of positions to try and keep the championship alive. I will say Louis Sharp's first lap there is certainly up and amongst that one. You're absolutely right with Mackenzie Cresswell. His consistency in the championship. I mean, when it comes to his qualifying positions, he's always been inside the top 6. As we look a little bit further back to John Bennett, who's struggles in qualifying for the second one. Obviously, he was third yesterday. Obviously, that is based on their first qualifying lap, first fastest qualifying lap. The second fastest qualifying lap he sets the grid for this race. And John Bennett's second fastest lap clearly wasn't so great in that number 11 JHR Developments car. 8th position for him, and struggling to guide away past Noah Ping.
Yes, just keeping an eye on the timings, Lewis. And we did say that the gap at the front of the field we expect to close. However, at this stage of the race, 3 or 4 laps in, it's not closing at the rate I potentially thought it might. That last lap around, Kuharczyk was faster, but only to the tune of about 0.09 of a second. Although they're about to come over the line very shortly, and Sharp actually set the fastest middle sector of the race by almost 0.2. So he's pushing on and has actually extended the gap by 0.3 on that lap. So Louis Sharp clearly worked well in his driving overnight. Maybe Rodin have made a few tweaks to the car which has helped them in terms of pace, and he is extending that lead. The gap now 1.4 again at the front of the field.
Battle for 7th position here, and Noah Ping again just trying to keep John Bennett at bay, who typically speaking is the highest placed JHR Developments driver in 2024. That is not the case in this race, because Patrick Huysenrode is having a great drive up to 5th position at the moment, looking for his best ever finish in a main race in GB3. Of course, he did get a reverse grid podium at the end of last season, the very last race of 2023, when he did the back-to-back rounds, of course, at Zandvoort and then at Donington Park. But John Bennett struggling to find his way past Noah Ping. Obviously, one of the things to talk on Louis Sharp very quickly, one of the things that could be the factor, it could be down to tyres. Do remember they only get 2 full sets of tyres, even on international rounds, 2 full sets of these Pirelli slick tyres, so they can use those as they see fit, and maybe they've taken some fresh tyres. I don't know if you got a glimpse at what was going on down there.
I didn't. It's hard to take a glimpse because generally speaking these days in GB3, in the 20 or 25 minute qualifying session that the drivers get, they will use both of their new sets of tyres, because a new set of tyres on the first heat cycle is certainly faster, and qualifying is so vital to a good race weekend in any single-seater championship that they will make the use of both of those 2 full sets of tyres. However, because there's 3 races, you effectively have to do 2 races on one of your sets of used tyres from qualifying, and then 1 race on the other. So you may be right, Lewis. Potentially, Louis Sharp has taken his least used set of tyres and taken them for this race, whereas Kuharczyk may be using the same tyres as he used in race 1. Hard to tell because it depends on how the teams have labelled them up. It used to be easier when teams generally used 1 set and they'd save a brand new set for another race, but it doesn't happen so much these days. We have actually seen at the front of shot just a moment ago, Gerard Shee is circulating around, still on the lead lap, so whatever issue he had at the start of the race that caused him to pit, is he on the lead lap? Yeah, I think he is on the lead lap,
yes.
But nearly a whole lap behind. So good to see he's continuing on. The team will have sent him out to ensure that car is all good to go before race 3, the reverse grid race this weekend. But he would prefer to have been in this shot that we're looking at right now, because that's potentially where he deserves to be, getting pole position.
Yeah, indeed. Like I say, it's a bit of a shot. Confirmation at the bottom of the screen, by the way. Black and white flag for exceeding track limits. This is a warning for car number 17, Nikita Johnson, who is running down in 13th position. So just a little bit of a slap on the wrist for exceeding track limits. You can do that quite a lot around here. Yeah, we've said before, the exit of turn 4, the exit of turn 11, turn 12, turn 11 here. Very easily done. Obviously, you wouldn't be. You'd be keeping it well within the track limits, right?
Yeah, I would like to think so, Lewis. But it is easy to run wide on a few of these corners. Of course, it's an international FIA Grade 1 circuit used in Formula 1, so there's a lot of runoff on the exit of the corners for safety and to make sure that the drivers can avoid accidents. But the other side of the double-edged sword with that is that you can use that extra runoff to your advantage as a driver, and so the stewards and the track officials try and make sure that the drivers are staying within the white lines. But it's so hard to stay within white lines because you need to push on and use all of the roads to get the best lap time in these cars, and you sit so low, and especially turn 4, for example, it's blind through the middle of the corner. It's over a crest and you can't see the exit, so you have to commit to your line and your speed before you can see the apex or the exit. So you can commit to the corner and put your power down before you can see the exit, and you don't know whether you're going to go over track limits until you basically get there, which is a tricky thing to do, but it's all about judgment, and these drivers are within centimetres every single lap.
More warnings. Javier Segura and Hugo Schwartz, who's running in 10th position, receiving a warning for track limit goes. And I will say, Javier Segura is also under investigation for an incident between himself and Flynn Jacks on the very first lap. That'll be investigated after the race, as well as the incident between Sean Rashid and Flynn Jacks that we saw on that excellent slow-mo replay. By the way, look at 7th place on the timing tower, 0.0 between John Bennett and Noah Ping. John Bennett has finally found himself ahead as Kuharczyk runs a little bit wide going through turn 11. But John Bennett seems to have finally found his way past.
Yeah, out of camera shot from what we've seen so far, but Bennett was applying the pressure on the back of Ping we saw. Here we go, here's a replay, Lewis. I'll talk us through it. So Bennett going up the inside into, is that turn number 5? I think it is turn 5. So clearly Bennett getting a good exit out of that quick turn 4. Whoa! Contact as well. That is a bold move. It's on the exit of the corner, would not have been deliberate, and it looks like they've both continued on light wheel-to-wheel or wheel-to-body contact there, but good to see John Bennett making a move up the grid. He was looking racy on the back of Ping. Ping putting up a solid defence, but who knows, Ping might be trying to come back on him, although the gap has actually opened out to 1.2 now, and Headley's starting to apply the pressure on the back of Ping. Hopefully that car of Ping's has not received any damage that is hampering his performance.
Yeah, I mean, we'll check out those sector times from there, but I do probably, I probably more lean towards the idea of it being faster for John Bennett. He's actually set the personal best final sector for John Bennett this race. I think it's more the sense of he was being held back, has got through, and is using some of that pace in the number 11 JHR Developments car as Will McIntyre runs out a little bit wide. He was the only high-tech Pulsate driver not to be on the podium yesterday. Of course, his two teammates finished in 1 and 2. But it does seem as though this streak of victories for high-tech Pulsate will be coming to a close, because Louis Sharp continues to set excellent lap times, pulling out another 0.2 of a second. There'll be just 2 laps left to go at the line. Louis Sharp is looking for his second victory in GB3.
Yeah, an excellent drive so far. 3 laps to go, so it's not done yet, and we've seen that potential issues for, well, there was issues for Gerard Shee, so not infallible. Stranger things have happened, but Louis Sharp has done everything right in this race. Got away from the line extremely well, and that's only one part of the job, because yes, getting away from the line got in one position up into 3rd place. He then, in the next 2 corners, overtook both of the high-tech cars, one into turn number 1, one into turn number 2, and then took the lead by the time we got into turn number 4. So, Lewis, all of my predictions for the race were wrong. I said that it was going to be a high-tech car, and I said that driver that led out of turn 2 was going to win the race. At the moment, I'm going to be wrong on both counts.
Yeah, I mean, look, I will be fair to you. Again, commentator's curse doesn't exist, and I've got to back you up here as a fellow commentator. For one, there was a technical issue for Gerard Shee, which is why he dropped out of the race. Maybe he would have won, and he was leading coming out of turn 2 and turn 3, so it's a technical thing. So that's bad luck, right? That's sorted. And the other one's bad driving, but let's be honest, we've not seen any of that. We've just seen some absolute quality driving coming in from Louis Sharp, where he was able to work his way past on Timothy Kuharczyk and Will McIntyre on that first lap as well. And I say just an excellent start to the race. There's Mackenzie Cresswell, who's just cruising round.
Yeah, it's good to know that you've got my back, Lewis. Thank you for trying to make me feel less bad. But I think the facts are fairly clear. I was very much wrong. But we've got a nice little battle here. The number 62 of Colin Queen, the number 5 of Javier Segura, and the number 81 as well, and the number 91 of Seb Murray. All very, very close on circuit down the lower end of the field. That is for 14th, 15th and 16th.
I think Colin Queen finished 14th yesterday, if memory serves, having worked his way up from the rear of the field, and did an excellent job of doing so. Obviously moved up a few positions now to 14th once more. Is not a part of the reverse grid, because of course the reverse grid this year in GB3, if you're only just joining us for the first time in 2024, the reverse grid this year is only the top 12 from qualifying get reversed, rather than the entirety of the grid. But it seems as though Colin Queen's race pace in that Fortec machine is quite handy as well, as we've got 3 Chris Dittman racing cars, and of course 2 Fortex going into battle here, as that was very wide from Flynn Jacks.
Yeah, very wide for the number 41 of Edward Pearson, and not to be outdone, Flynn Jacks going even wider, and we saw there the puffs of smoke from the underside of the cars, and the cars getting dragged off the circuit. That's another thing that the drivers have to contend with, is that the curbs that on the exit of the corners, they may seem flat, but these cars run so unbelievably low to the circuit. You know, at racing speeds will be less than 3 or 4 centimetres, that you drop a wheel over the edge of the curb, and the plank in the middle of the car, which sits directly under the driver's bum, basically hits the ground, lifts the wheels off, and you're out of control, which has dragged those drivers off the circuit. But this driver at the front of the field on his final lap, he looks completely in control. Watching him go through turn 4 there, that car looks like it's dialed in now, so whatever potential teething issues in terms of his normal pace that he had in qualifying from Louis Sharp has been solved by himself and the Rodin Motorsport team, and is romping away to victory. Last few laps have been the fastest on circuit for pretty much the whole race. Gap nearly 2 seconds. He's got a little bit of breathing room. What a drive, Lewis.
Yeah, I mean, what a drive as well from John Bennett, who's actually closed up to the rear end of Jared Oberski. Could there be a move coming in from Bennett as well to maybe sneak up another one? He's got a couple of extra overtaking opportunities, maybe down into turn 12, but at the front of the field, it will be Louis Sharp into the penultimate corner. Awkwardly enough, Timmy Kuharczyk will actually still extend his championship lead, just careless things. We'll discuss that a little bit later on. Of course, as we'll see them come through that final corner, and it will be Louis Sharp then for the second time in GB3, of course, taking the also taking to the top step of the podium. Louis Sharp, of course, on top here for Rodin Motorsport after an excellent opening lap to the race. He qualified and started from 5th place, worked his way through a technical gremlin from Gerard Shee, put paved to his race, but it was an excellent start from Louis Sharp to get past Mackenzie Cresswell, to get past Will McIntyre, and to get past Timek Kuharczyk to take the victory. Kuharczyk and McIntyre still make it onto the podium, so a very solid performance from them, but maybe they'll have to reignite their fight coming back into the final race of the weekend a little bit later on. Louis Sharp, though, what a drive, what an absolute stunning effort from him to have taken that victory by just under 2 seconds, end up being at the end of things. And of course, we've seen him on the podium a few times this season. Of course, most notably in that very first race of the championship. He led the championship challenge going out of the first round of the season when we ended up things in Alton Park. Ended up being overtaken by an excellent performance from Timek Kuharczyk, of course, back in Silverstone and Spa, who is the championship leader now. Louis Sharp's led the championship for a longer period, but a couple of issues for him, including that retirement at Spa, courtesy of the incident between himself, Ugo Chukwu, and of course Noah Ping. Well, I think they'll be staring at that thinking, wow, what could have been for Louis Sharp. But either way, there's still a long way to go in the championship, and putting in a performance like that just shows the quality of driver that we've got here in Sharp, and what a solid performance that'll be. I'm sure the adrenaline was pumping at the end of that first lap. Just absolutely ridiculous. We'll take a look, though, at the provisional results, though, of course, from the race. Louis Sharp taking that victory, and of course Timek Kuharczyk there in 2nd position, making it yet another podium for Kuharczyk. It'll be a 6th podium for him. Will McIntyre onto the podium once more as well. Again, a fantastic performance from him for a 3rd place finish. Mackenzie Cresswell in 4th position. Patrick Huizenmoder, his best ever main race finish as well, 5th place. Obviously finished on the podium at the last race at Donington Park last year. Jared Oberski, John Bennett, Noah Ping, James Headley and Hugo Schwarzer round out the top 10. So another top 10 for the Elite Motorsports driver. Sean Rashid in 11th position, Josh Erfan, Nikita Johnson, Colin Queen and Javier Segura rounding out the top 15. Those that will finish behind: Sebastian Murray, Ed Pearson, Flynn Jacks, Aditya Kulkarni, and of course the big shame there for Gerard Shee, having a technical problem dropping down the field. It might have been a puncture or anything in that vein. And Arthur Rojon, of course, retiring from the race for an unknown problem. They are down there in the paddock area, of course. Louis Sharp with that brilliant victory. What can he do in the next race? Of course, we do have the reverse grid to come after this. And Louis Sharp, because of a poor qualifying for the first race, Louis Sharp's actually not starting in a bad position. He's starting from 4th place. Well, he won this one from 5th. So could there be another victory coming in from Louis Sharp this weekend? And do you know what? I would not rule it out. That would be a big swing in the championship. You just never really know. Will McIntyre just kind of sneaking around, obviously picking up another podium. Obviously he's had a few victories, 3 victories this season. Of course, the main thing for Rodin Motorsports is it has ended the streak of Hi-Tech Pulsate victories. It will stay at 7 race victories consecutive for the Hi-Tech Pulsate team. 3 for Timek Kuharczyk, 3 for Will McIntyre, and that 1 for Gerard Shee. Of course, I'll be thinking about what could have been without Gerard Shee's problems, of course. But let's be honest, you just can't rule out a drive like that from Louis Sharp. It was just an excellent start to have snuck his way through at the start of the race and pieced himself together. Richard Randall straight over to congratulate, of course. To say, again, a lot of people will jump down and say their bit to Louis Sharp, including, it's not James Corden, it's Jon Jackson, who will be there to chat, of course, to Louis Sharp.
Yeah, here with Louis Sharp, race winner. Louis, an amazing start there. Just talk me through it. Was that all pre-planned?
Not really. Obviously, being P5, it's not where I want to be, so I wanted to make positions. I was thinking if I could get 1 or 2 on the first lap, that would be pretty good. But I ended up getting all 4 of them. So, no, it was a fantastic start. Got, I think, 2 around the outside into turn 1, and then 1 around the outside into turn 2. The move into turn 2 was pretty close. I got squeezed a bit on exit, but just was able to hang on with it. And then I think Gerard had an issue or something, so he slowed down a bit, and I was able to get him into the chicane. So, no, really, really good job, really. Got to give the team a big thank you. I think we struggled a bit in qualifying yesterday with the car, but I think the boys have done a really good job of turning it around, and I think we're back at the front where we should be. I mean, since Alton Park, our season's not really gone quite to plan. We've been fast, but always a bit unlucky. So no, it's good to finally get another win and get closer to the championship lead again.
We spoke to your dad Jason before, and he said that you'd found something that he thought might give you a bit of an edge today. Obviously, that was probably a bit of a late night yesterday looking at data. Can you give us an idea of what that might have been?
I can't share too many secrets, but no, we tried something going into this weekend. Don't think it was quite what we expected it to be, so we went back to what we knew, and it ended up giving us a lot of pace. And I think, like I said, I've got to give a big thank you to the boys. It's been a tough weekend so far, but they've worked really hard to get us back to the front, so I'm really happy with the win.
Reverse grid race coming up later on today. How many places do you reckon you make up in that one?
Not sure. Obviously, we're starting P4 on that one, so even better than what we were in this race. So I think at least the podium. I mean, I'll be gunning for the win again, but I can't really expect to have the same first lap as what I did just then. But no, I'll be going for it anyway. We'll see what happens.
Excellent stuff. Great position for later on, and great to see you back on the top step.
Thank you.
Louis Sharp there with Road and Motorsport race winner, and we're going to come around here and we're going to walk past Louis' dad Jason, and we're going to say congratulations too. Oh, I'm going to chip over live on the stream there. Photographer will be all right. I'm sure Dom will let me off, and we'll speak with Timek Kaharczyk coming second for High-Tech Pulsate. And normally we'd say second is a great result for you, which it still is, but I know you want to win, and Louis was pretty quick there around the first few corners.
Yeah, just a bit of my mistake in T2, to be honest. Should have taken a bit different line and should have allow him to be on my right side. And yeah, it's just a shame because then Gerard had some technical issues with his car, so that probably would have been a win. But still, anyways, P2 is alright. Another strong points. And yeah, we just keep on going. I think we still have a decent car. Maybe cooked the rear tires a bit too much on the first 2-3 laps, which caused a bit of trouble in the end, but yeah, it was a right race.
Piers and Lewis were talking on the commentary about your tyres. Were you using the same tyres as yesterday, or were they mixed up?
That's a different set. That's a different set from. So you have 2 sets per quali. And one set is for race 1, and then the other one is for race 2. So yeah, that's a bit of different set. I wouldn't say it's any better or worse because the car felt alright on the first 2-3 laps. But yeah, it's a bit of my rough driving, I think, and wanted a bit too much from the car, and then yeah, struggled a bit in the middle part of the race, to be honest.
Hey, it's all things you can learn from, and second place is not bad.
Yeah, that's right. That's for a pretty messy race, I think P2 is a good come away, and then we look forward for race 3.
Excellent stuff. We'll see you later for the reverse grid race. Timek, thank you very much. Timek Kaharczyk there with High-Tech Pulsate. We're going to come through and we're going to chat with our third place driver, Will McIntyre. Going to awkwardly follow Timek because that's what I do. Will, P3, and great for you to also get on the podium after your teammates have both got on there yesterday.
Yeah, it's nice to be back up here. Obviously not the result we wanted, obviously letting Louis and Timek in front of me, and obviously I'm battling against them in a championship, but yeah, points is points.
Yeah, well, you started the race there, third in the championship, so or maybe second in the championship. Off the top of my head, it was second or third. I think it may be third, but you're still on the podium now, and we have the reverse grid race coming up later on. Places to be made up, points to be gained.
Yeah, exactly. We'll give it our all in the next race, and see if we can win some back on Timek and Louis.
Excellent stuff. We'll let you get on the podium now and celebrate with the team there. Will McIntyre with High-Tech Pulsate. High-Tech Pulsate's on the podiums for the last few podiums. It's gone absolutely crazy. We'll talk more to some of the people involved, and Piers will rejoin me after we watch the podium, which Lewis McGlade will talk you through.
Well, thank you, Jonas. Of course, as we'll see them all jump their way up onto the podium. And again, an excellent performance once more from Louis Sharp to take those 35 points for the victory. Of course, it was 7th place in race 1. But again, to deliver such a performance there, to jump up to the top step of the podium, Again, very, very impressive. Can he do it again, though, later on today? Again, he'll be starting from a higher position in the next race than he started in this one, despite it being the reverse grid, just because of how poor the qualifying was for him in the opening day. And do you know what? I think he might be able to sneak that victory. I think he might be able to sneak a very, very solid result and maybe outscore Kuharczyk, who'll be starting from 11th position, of course. So no idea what we're looking at there, but fantastic. As we'll see them take on to the podium. Of course, it'll be Josh Erfin starting the next race from pole position. But again, it'll be Josh Erfin, Arthur Rojon and Jared Werberski, who Louis Sharp will have to overtake. Which will be very tricky indeed, but I'm sure as he's overtaken the likes of Kuharczyk, Will McIntyre, Mackenzie Cresswell and Gerard Chi in this race, I'm pretty sure he'll be able to maybe sneak his way past in all of that one. As we stare at the podium, which they'll all be jumping onto once more, and again, it's another podium for Will McIntyre, it's yet another podium for a championship leader in Timek Kuharczyk, who has extended his championship lead also, just by a couple of points. It's now at 21. We'll look at the championship standings in a few moments' time. But again, it is a victory from Louis Sharp, who will take to the top step of the podium for just the second time this season. And of course, we will hear the New Zealand national anthem.
Congratulations, guys. Big applause for the top 3 of the GB3 second race.
Again, what a performance from a young superstar, a driver that we know is a quality talent in the world of motorsport. But still, just seeing him take that kind of dominant victory, very impressive. Timek Kuharczyk, by the way, will obviously win the Obligato driver to watch at the weekend, because obviously he's won. It's the highest point scorers in the first 2 races, which, of course, it will be Kuharczyk with a second place and a second place. He receives his trophy as such, a 7th place and, of course, a 1st place for Louis Sharp, as he will take top honours. Either way, we'll take a look at highlights from the race. Of course, it was an excellent start from Gerard Chi from pole position as Timek Kuharczyk was trying to find a way past in the race down into the first corner. An attack on the outside coming in from Louis Sharp as he was trying to find some way past. Kuharczyk trying to get past his teammate for the high-tech Pulse 8 squad. It was a 1-2-3 for them on the starting grid. It would not last long as Louis Sharp with an excellent start got past Will McIntyre and then was looking for a move on our driver in second place, the championship leader Timek Kuharczyk, straight around the outside for the Rodin Motorsports driver. He would take over second position. There was plenty of drama down into the first corner on the at the end of the first lap, at the start of the second one, as Colin Queen was going on the attack. And then this moment as well, as Sean Rashid and Flynn Jackson make contact going into turn 6 and 7. A technical issue for Gerard Chi would cost him the race lead, of course, as there'd be an overtake for the race lead from Louis Sharp. A couple bits of contact behind as Louis Sharp would take the victory. And again, it's just perfect. I'm sure he might sit there and think about how the drive, of course, came in from Gerard Chi, but it is what it is. We'll take a look at the standings, though, from the race. Of course, Kuharczyk there on top of the standings, 241 points, extending his championship lead to 21 points. It was 19 coming into it. Louis Sharp in second place. Will McIntyre in third. John Bennett in fourth. And Mackenzie Cresswell in fifth position. Ugo Chukwu, as expected, will drop back in the championship as he's not racing in GB3 this weekend. Gerard Chi in seventh position with Jared Werberski, Arthur Rojon Rojon and Hugo Schwarzer rounding out the top 10. Again, another top 10 for Hugo Schwarzer in this race, as he seems to just keep picking them up. He's a quality driver and certainly someone to keep an eye on in the championship. He's only had a few top 10s, but it's the consistency. It's the fact that when he's not in the top 10 for a brand new driver in GB3, the fact he's always kind of hovering around that sort of 13th, 14th, 15th position when he's outside of the top 10. Unfortunately for him, he'll not be starting from the reverse grid pole as he did a few weeks ago at Spa, but still, I think he might lose a little bit of ground in the top 10 of the championship, because Artur Rojon, of course, will be starting from second position in that race a little bit later on. And to be fair, looking at those drivers that are behind, Noah Ping is the one that's in 11th position. Patrick Husenroder is the one who's obviously joint 11th position basically with Noah Ping. Those two might overtake Hugo Schwarzer in the next race and knock the Elite Motorsports driver out of the top 10. A big 40-point margin though up to Jared Waberski, which will be a bit of a shame. Let's give a little bit of a talk about Gerard Shee, of course, 7th position in the championship after the issues, scoring just a single point. Obviously, he came into this round with 100 points. I'm sure if you'd have said to him before we came in, if you come in with 100 points after 2 races, you'll score 36. He might sit there and go, "Oh, yeah, that's actually not that bad." Scoring 36 points is, after just a couple of races. I mean, that would be a 5th and a 6th position. So there is that. But when you consider it being a race 1 victory and then race 2 finishing down the order, it's just a bit disappointing for Gerard Shee and the potential. But of course, you know, plenty of races on the horizon this season, including one a little bit later on this weekend. Of course, that race through that all-important reverse grid. The top 12 will be the ones reversed around. So later on in the day, it'll be Josh Erford and Artur Rojon starting from the front row of the grid. Jared Waberski and Louis Sharp will be starting from 3rd and 4th. That is a prime opportunity for Louis Sharp to do something special here today. If he can take the victory from 5th place in this race, if he can do the same thing again from 4th in the next race, then, you know, taking 70 points, so it wouldn't be quite 70 points because it's 20 points for the next race victory, and then the extra 3 points for the positions gains, it would be 23. That could be enough where he could be again helping his championship position against Timo Kuharczyk. The problem with Kuharczyk, though, is with him starting down in 11th position, he's got more positions that he can gain, and in the reverse grid race, you gain a point for the positions that you gain compared to your starting position. So for Kuharczyk, there could well be the potential of him not losing out too much ground in the championship. He'll need to focus on moving up as many positions as possible. But as we've seen so far with the Hungaroring, it is not easy to make those moves, and you know, it's caused a fair share of problems. John Bennett really struggled to get past Noah Ping. During that race, we saw a few attempts from him. We saw Timo Kuharczyk struggling to get past Gerard Shee in the first race as well. There's a couple of overtaken opportunities, but you have to be fairly brave to do it. I mean, we saw it from John Bennett when he did eventually get past Noah Ping with that move into turn 5. A little bit of power sliding, a little bit of heavy on the right foot, squeezing out Noah Ping a little bit extra in the corner. It was an excellent move from John Bennett, but it took him a long time to find that, and it required him getting close into turn 1, required him kind of hunting for that opportunity, and eventually getting it at turn 5, which is not typically a corner we see many overtakes at. Is turn 5. It's because it's kind of a more medium to high speed. Well, medium speed hairpin. I was going to say high speed is probably definitely not the right way of putting it. It's not a slow speed hairpin like what you get with turn 1 is turn 5. And so typically speaking, you don't get that many overtakes. Either way, I'm sure you're bored of my waffling and you want to hear what Piers and Johns are saying and who they've caught up with in the paddock. So let's head down there.
Yeah, well, another exciting race there, Piers. Another, we thought it was going to be dominated by High-Tech Pulsate. In the end, Louis Sharp, amazing start there, and we'll probably chat to him before the next race, because it's the reverse grid race coming up just after 4 o'clock later on local time, which means if you're watching in the UK, it'll be an hour behind. You can work it out for wherever you're watching around the world. And Louis Sharp for Rodin starts 4th. You'd imagine he's got a good chance of getting more points and certainly more podiums in that reverse grid race. So we'll be back just after 4 with the GB3 Championship. Check out the full race report on the GB3 website, and check the social media as well for all the photos, behind the scenes videos, and we'll see you later on for the last race of the weekend here in the GB3 Championship here at the Hungaroring.